Hi everyone. This lesson is all about writing linear equations. So in lesson 3.6, we were given an equation of a line and we were asked to graph it. Now in this lesson, we're going to be doing the opposite. So we're going to have graphs of linear functions and we are going to get the equation by looking at the graph. Okay, so let's get started. So if we're given a line, we can write its equation in slope-intercept form by simply identifying its slope and its y-intercept. So we have to find two things to find the equation of the line: the slope and the y-intercept. That's it. Okay, so let's try example 1. Okay, so two things. First, we want to find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, why don't we start with the easiest thing to find, which is the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is the point on your line that crosses, our y-axes, right? So in this case, it would be the point right here, okay? So our y-intercept, this point is 0, -2. And that makes our b value, our equation, -2. Okay? The next thing we have to figure out is we have to figure out the slope. Okay, so again, there's two ways you can do this. Okay, there's the way where, we identify 2 points on a line, point 1 and point 2. So this one will be -6, -4, right? And we use the slope formula to find it, right? Remember the slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we can find the slope this way, and I'll do an example right now for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one point 1 because it's more to the left. So this is going to be x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. And I'm simply going to put those numbers into my equation for slope, and I'm going to calculate slope. So y2 is my -2 minus y1, which is -4. Okay. x2 is 0, and x1 is -6. Okay, pay attention to your double negatives when you're working with the slope formula, okay? Because that's where most of the mistakes happen. So I'm going to continue to simplify my work. -2 plus 4, right? And this becomes 0 plus 6, or I'll just write 6. Okay, and then we simplify the top some more. So -2 plus 4, that's just 2 over 6, and we simplify that as far as we can go. 2 over 6 becomes 1 over 3. Okay, so our slope is 1 over 3. Always leave it as a fraction, okay? Don't write it as a decimal, okay? Because if you try to write it as a decimal, you're going to have 0.33333, right? It never ends. It's going to continue going. So that's why fractions are so much better than using decimals, because we don't have to round when we have a fraction. Okay, so that was method 1 to get slope, right? That was using our slope formula, right? So slope formula. There's another way we could have gotten slope, right? Which is simply doing rise over run, okay? We should all remember how to do that, right? So we select 2 points, right? And we create a right triangle. So I'm going to pick any 2 points, remember? So here's my rise, and here's my run. All right, so I'm going from that point to that point. So I'm going from here to here. So my rise, well, I start at -3 and I climb up to -1. So I rose by 2. Okay. And how much did I run by? Well, I started at -3, right? And I ran all the way to +3. So that means my run is 6. Okay. And remember, M is rise over run. So we end up with 2 over 6, which again reduces to 1 over 3. So again, you can use whichever method you want, right? Whether it's the slope formula or whether it's using, the rise over run method. Okay? But either way, you should end up with the exact same answer. So now we'll just write our final equation. So remember, the general form of a linear equation is y equals mx plus b. Okay? So for question 1, the equation would be y is equal to 1 over 3 times x minus 2. Okay, so that's the equation for our first line. Okay, so let's do the second example together. Okay. So again, we only have to find 2 things to find the equation of the line: slope and the y-intercept. So I'm going to find the intercept first, right? Because it's really easy for me to do. Whoops, sorry. What I do is look at my graph. Okay, so here's my y-axis. Here is my y-intercept. Okay, and remember that point occurs at 0, 7. Okay, so that means our b value is going to be 7. Our y-intercept is positive 7. Okay, now we just have to find slope. So again, remember, we can use 2 methods. We can use the slope formula, or we can use rise over run. Okay, so why don't I'm going to do the rise over run first this time, and we'll go from the y-intercept to the next point. So I create my right angle triangle. So my rise is going down this time, right? And my run, and then I draw also my run. Oops. Oh. All right. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at this. So my rise is negative. My rise, I started at 7 and I went down to 2. Okay. How much should I go down by? Well, my rise, I went down by 5. So my rise is -5. My run, right, I started at 0, right? This is 0, and I moved to 2. So my run, apologies, my run is 2. Okay, so that makes my slope rise over run. And we leave it like that. We leave it as -5 over 2. This one, it wouldn't be as bad if you wrote it as a decimal, because it would be -2.5. And there's not really any rounding required here. But still, I always prefer that you leave your slope in fraction form. Okay? Always leave it in fraction form. Okay, so let's finish our second example here. So slope is -5 over 2. So now let's just write the whole equation out. So y equals mx. So -5 over 2 times x plus 7. Okay? So there's quite a few ones for you guys to try here. It's really important that you guys try to do this on your own, and make sure you understand how to do this. Maybe I will do one more example, just for fun, let's do this one, question 5, okay? So, again, let's find the y-intercept, our b value. So here, our y-intercept, the point where it crosses our y-axis, is right at 0, right? So that point right there is 0, 0. So what does that mean about our b value? Well, our b will simply be 0, okay? So now to find our slope, we're going to want to do rise over run. Rise over run. Okay, so my rise, I start at 0 and I climb all the way up to 4, so that's rise of 4. And my run, I start at 0 and I go all the way to 3. So that's a run of 3. So my slope becomes 4 over 3. And then when I'm writing my final equation, I am just going to write it as y equals 4 over 3x. I'm not even going to put the plus 0, okay? Don't put the plus 0. It doesn't make sense for it to be there. It doesn't mean anything, right? So our equation just becomes y equals 4 over 3x. Okay, so again, you guys are going to do the rest of the questions on your own. I know it's a lot more. I only gave you guys 2 examples, but again, you guys are welcome to join me for the live sessions if you need more help, but I think you should be able to complete these, okay? And the answers will go up on Google Classroom. Okay, excellent. Have a good day, week, or whatever.